really excited today to be talking about podcasting because I'm not a marketing person, but I'm a small business owner. And so we all kind of have to become marketing people at least a little bit because we don't always have the money to pay somebody else to do it for us. And if we don't market, we're not ever going to make enough money to pay somebody else to do it for us. And so I'm really excited because I finally found the marketing thing that works for me. And it isn't maybe as common as some people think it is, but it is really common and really easy. So they have estimated on one of the services I use that I have over 5,000 listens and 27,000 social impressions in 90 days, and I've spent $20. So it's really something that can get pretty effective marketing for you. So today I'm going to talk about why you should listen to me, why I'm talking about it, why you should do it, what you need to do it, where to find podcasts to be on, and then how to do it, and then have time to talk about it. So I'm going to be really quick. Why should you listen to me? Well, I'm nobody super special, but I am a small business owner, and I'm a teacher, and I'm a coach. So it's really important to me to get my message out to people so that I can help them. Being a teacher with no students is very unfulfilling. Being a teacher who can spread their message to 27,000 people in 90 days is really fulfilling, even if it doesn't make me any money. So I made it actually last month in January of 2022 onto Podmatch's top 10 list. So I was one of their most active guests overall for the month. And so now I'm going to talk a little bit about why you should podcast as a small business owner. It's a super low cost marketing option. It's one of the easiest things to do, and it's fun and quick. Podcasts have a life expectancy that is significantly longer than any other social media. Your tweets have roughly a 13-minute lifespan. Instagram and Facebook posts make it to about 24 hours. A podcast has about a 174-day lifespan. So it's going to really have some longevity to keep your business name going for a longer amount of time. I also really love podcasts because you get to borrow somebody else's audience. You don't have to try and build it yourself. You don't try and figure out how to market to them. You don't have to try and select the niche. All you do is find a podcast host who wants to talk to you, and you borrow their audience for half an hour, and then they thank you for it at the end. Being an expert on a podcast is a great way to establish credibility for yourself, because if the podcast host trusted you enough to put you in front of their audience, you must know what you're talking about. So the audience is more likely to believe that you know what you're talking about and go visit your website. Podcasts are also a great way to build brand awareness because all these different podcast hosts are posting your business name. They're posting your links. They're exposing you so that more people can find you. Gotta click on the other screen. So to be a podcast guest, there is not a very long list of things you need. You need a computer and a clean background so that your background isn't distracting the guests, because several of them do video. You need a webcam and good lighting. And then you need an external microphone. My microphone works great and was $30 on Amazon. And the same goes for my ring light. I get fantastic lighting. It's mobile and easy to use. And it was like $40 on Amazon. So I still, even with equipment, I'm at less than $100 in investments to do these podcasts. It can be hard at starting out to figure out where to go to find podcasts. But fortunately, I've done the legwork for you, and you can just take some advice from me. The first thing is to contact the hosts for podcasts you're already listening to. Hey, I love your show. I would love to be a guest sometime. Do you have an opportunity for us to connect and chat? There's also a service called Podmatch. I like to joke that Podmatch is like Tinder for podcasts because it shows you a host profile and you can message them or pass on them. It's very Tinder-esque, and you just select if it's something you'd like to do or not. There's also another podcast matching site called matchmaker.fm, which I also have on here for you guys. So they're both really super easy to use. And then you can always just Google, like, how do I find podcasts? But these two websites are going to give you hundreds of thousands of hosts all in two places very quickly. So here's the really hard part. Once it's time to do your podcast, you found a podcast, you set a time, you set a date, you're organized and you're ready to go. What do you do? How do you podcast? You sit down in your comfortable chair, log in to whatever recording program they're using. Most commonly, it will be StreamYard, which just goes in your browser, very similar to Google Meet, or Zoom, which we all know how to use very well. So I took a screenshot here of myself on Zoom 2 weeks ago, sitting down to start recording a podcast. This is right before we recorded Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, which was really fun. And then you sit down, you log in, and you talk about what you love to the person on the other side of the screen. I very rarely sit down and say, oh my gosh, this podcast has an audience of 5,000 people, and I have to convince 5,000 people to listen to my message. I look at the host and I talk to them, and I'm having a really great conversation with that one person that they happen to be recording to share with their 5,000 closest friends. So it's really low key, and you don't have to feel like it's a really scary speaking engagement. It's just a conversation about your business. And if you're an entrepreneur who loves what you do, talking about your business is already one of your favorite things. So as you can see, actually doing and finding and marketing with podcasts is incredibly easy. And on my last slide here, I just have the links to the 2 podcasting services that I recommend and that I use myself. So I'm going to switch tabs really quick. I have to close this one. And I'm just going to show you how Podmatch works so you can see that it really is ridiculously easy. So this is Podmatch. It's coming up right now. And this is my dashboard. So it has a list of unscheduled, upcoming, or what is this? Okay, this, I think it's working. You guys can see Podmatch, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So it has my completed interviews, upcoming, and unscheduled interviews that were done through this website. It has the commissions that they're paying me. And then at the top, it just has a heart and it says matches. And if you click on that heart, depending on your membership tier, they change how often they update those. And this says positively charged business. We're here to motivate, support, and inspire listeners as they write their life story. So if this was a podcast I would want to be on, I would just message them. And if I didn't, I would hit maybe later or pass, depending on whether I think it's something for the future or not at all. Every so often I get podcasts that I'm like, this is not the right one for me. Frequently, they're podcasts for helping men be stronger men. And I don't feel like I'm the proper guest for them. So those are one of the few times when I just click pass because it's not going to be a good fit for me. But Podmatch is super easy to use like this. You learn a little bit about the host, the audience, the flow, and determine if it's where you want to interview or not. And then you send messages. And I message just about anybody that I'm mildly interested in. So you can see I have tons of messages. Some of them message me back right away with absolutely, I want a message. Let's get together. And Podmatch takes care of interviewing, scheduling, and everything right there in the browser. And some of them don't reply at all. And that's okay because there's plenty of others who do answer. And then you can see your upcoming interviews also right there on your homepage. So it makes it really easy to keep track of. Mommy? The other service is Matchmaker FM. It is a much fancier looking website. So this is their homepage. They have top podcast recommendations, business recommendations, life coaching recommendations, even a messenger app that you can use. Mommy? And then you can just go to the top and click Find Show. And you can categorize it any way you would like to find the right shows for you. If you're specifically looking for accounting podcasts, then they're right here. And you can determine if any of them are what you'd like. And then it very similarly has just a messaging feature because that's where it all comes down to. It's dating sites for podcast matching so that you can market your business and find the right fit. Mommy. So I am going to go ahead and turn off my screen sharing And you guys can let me know what questions you have about why or how to podcast.